The Broken Nomad, True Stories. She keeps my number blocked. Let me say that again so it lands correctly. My wife keeps my number blocked. The woman I married. The woman I have been supporting for 4 years. The woman I have paid rent for, bought groceries for, sent money to every month without fail. The woman I flew across the world to see, again and again, sitting in economy class with my bad knee and my VA disability check and whatever was left of my dignity. She keeps my number on Do Not Disturb. She unblocks me when she needs something. Money, mostly. Sometimes a favor. Sometimes just a reminder that I am still there, still waiting, still hoping. And then she blocks me again. I am 53 years old. I am a disabled veteran. I live alone in a house that is too quiet. And somewhere in Cali, Colombia, a 23-year-old woman who is legally my wife is going about her life with my ring on her finger and my money in her pocket and my number blocked on her phone. I am telling you this because I need you to understand something before we go any further. I knew. Some part of me always knew. And I married her anyway. The man I was before her. You need to understand who I was in 2019 to understand how I got here. I was 49 years old and I had been alone for a long time. Not the productive kind of alone. Not the kind where a man learns himself, builds something, comes back stronger. The heavy kind. The kind that sits in the house with you and follows you from room to room and reminds you, every morning, that you are waking up in a bed that is too big for one person and was once made for two. My first marriage ended because she cheated. I won't go into the details because they don't matter and because even now, years later, they hurt in a way I'm not interested in performing for an audience. What matters is the aftermath. The 12 years of a relationship after that one, where I was so afraid of being alone that I stayed with someone I was not happy with, and she stayed with me for reasons that had more to do with convenience than love, and we both knew it, and neither of us said anything, and then one day even that was gone. So there I was. 49. Veteran. Disabled. A pension and a social security payment and a house and a dog and a television and nothing else. I had stopped expecting anything good. And then I found the internet. And on the internet, I found her. The beginning of the story I told myself. Her profile photo showed a young woman standing in front of a painted wall in Cali, Colombia, laughing at something outside the frame. She was wearing a yellow dress. She had the kind of smile that reaches the eyes. She was 19 years old. I know what you're thinking. I knew it then too, some quiet part of me in the back that I was very good at not listening to. A 30-year age difference. A 19-year-old in a developing country and a middle-aged American veteran with a pension. The math is not complicated. The math has never been complicated. But here is what loneliness does to math. It makes you very creative with numbers. We started talking online in early 2019. Her English was limited but she was warm and funny and she asked me questions about my life that nobody had asked me in years. She wanted to know what I did in the military. She wanted to know what my town was like. She wanted to know what my favorite food was and what I did on Sunday mornings and whether I had ever seen the Pacific Ocean. She had an infant son. He was 18 months old. No father listed on the birth certificate. She was living in a 2-bedroom apartment in a poor neighborhood in Cali with her mother. None of that mattered to me. I want you to really hear that. None of it mattered. Not the age, not the child, not the distance, not the absence of a father, not the poverty, not any of it. Because for the first time in a very long time, someone was paying attention to me. Someone was asking how I was doing and meaning it, or performing meaning well enough that I could not tell the difference and did not want to. 3 months after we first talked, I flew to Colombia to meet her. Cali. I had never been to South America before. I stepped off the plane into the heat of Cali and I thought, this place is alive. It had an energy I had never felt in an American city. Music from somewhere always. The smell of food from street corners. People moving with a looseness that I associated with people who had not spent their whole adult lives inside an office or a military base or a house that was too quiet. She met me at the airport. She was smaller than I expected. She had her son on her hip. A little boy in a blue shirt with large eyes that looked at me with the calm, serious assessment that small children have before they learn to be polite about strangers. She hugged me. She smelled like something floral I did not know the name of. We spent 10 days together. She showed me her city. We ate on the street and drank in small bars and watched salsa dancers in a plaza on a Saturday night. She laughed at my terrible Spanish. I laughed at everything she did. Her son warmed to me by day 4 and started calling me a name I could not pronounce correctly, which made her laugh even harder. On the 9th day, sitting on a bench in a park with the mountains in the distance and her son asleep across my lap, I thought, I could do this. I could actually do this. On the 10th day, I asked her to marry me. She said yes without hesitating. We were married 6 months later. I was 49. She was 19. And I told myself it was love. The plan that made sense on paper. The plan was simple. We would get her a visa to come to the United States. She and her son would come live with me. We would be a family. She would learn English properly. He would grow up with opportunities neither of them had in that 2-bedroom apartment in Cali. A clean, good story. The kind of story that plays well in your head at 2 a.m. when you are alone and the house is quiet and you need to believe things are going to be different. She gave me all of her documents for the visa application. Happily, quickly, without complaint. But when it came to her son's documents, there was always a reason. The first time, the paperwork was lost. The second time, her mother was sick and they could not make the appointment. The third time, there was a problem with the birth certificate. The fourth time, she was not sure she wanted to leave Colombia without sorting some things out first. Months passed. Then a year. Then 2 years. I flew back to see her every few months. Each visit was warm and affectionate, which I held on to during the long cold stretches in between. She video called me most evenings. She was sweet and funny and present in the way that made all the doubts I had developed feel small and unfair. I paid her rent every month. I sent money for groceries, for the boys' school supplies, for her mother's medication. I told myself this was what you did for your family. But the documents never came. The moment I finally asked the question out loud. 3 years after we married, I finally asked her directly whether she wanted to leave her son behind and come to the United States alone while we sorted out his paperwork separately. She said yes. I was surprised. Relieved. Maybe slightly unsettled by how quickly and easily she said yes to leaving her own child behind, but I pushed the thought away because I had a lot of practice pushing uncomfortable thoughts away. I processed her paperwork. I navigated the visa system. I paid the fees and filled out the forms and answered the questions and waited. 3 months later, her visa was approved. I called her with the news. She went quiet in a way I did not know how to read. She missed 3 flights. The first one, she was sick. The second one, her mother had been taken to the hospital. The third one, she had a feeling she could not explain, a feeling that it was not the right time. Her visa expired. I went through the entire process again. More fees. More forms. More waiting. Her second visa was approved. This time, she told me she had reconsidered. She could not leave her son. She wanted him to come too. By the time he got an embassy appointment for his own visa, her second visa would expire again. I told her she needed to come first, establish residency, and then we could bring him. She refused. And then something shifted. She refused to meet with the realtor I had contacted in Cali, because I had decided that if she would not come to the United States then I would go to Colombia. A man can live well on a VA pension and a social security payment in Colombia. I had done the math, real math this time. A 5-bedroom house with a pool in Cali cost less per month than my apartment back home. She refused to sign the visa documents I needed to stay long-term in Colombia. She told me she had enrolled in school. Which meant, I realized sitting alone in my house reading her message, that she had never intended to come to the United States. Not the first time, not the second time. The school enrollment was the first honest thing she had told me in a very long time, and she had told it to me by accident. She still called me most evenings. She still called me by the name she had always called me. She still needed the rent paid. The forum. In the summer of 2023, after 4 years of marriage and 4 years of money sent and 4 years of flights taken and visa applications filed and a son's paperwork chased through a bureaucracy that was never going to resolve, I posted on an expat forum. I described my situation as plainly as I could. I asked the men and women their one question. Am I being scammed? The responses came quickly. You are definitely being played. Get a lawyer. Get an annulment. You need to run, not walk, away from this predator. The age difference is a huge red flag. She is working you. Stop sending money today. I read every reply. I read them carefully, the way you read something when part of you already knows the answer and another part of you is hoping the words will somehow say something different than what they mean. And then I wrote back to the forum. I said, I understand what everyone is saying and I know I need to run like hell. But it is very hard being alone for so many years. My previous wife cheated on me and I was in a terrible lonely relationship for 12 years. And then I met this girl and she is so sweet to me. I know that is what she is supposed to do. I know she is supposed to be sweet to keep my money coming. But when you are a lonely disabled veteran with no one in your life, that still feels good. Even knowing what it is. It still feels good. I wrote that out and posted it on a public forum and then sat for a while with what I had admitted. One person reacted to my post with a thumbs up. One person said, sorry to hear. It makes me upset that she is preying on you and manipulating you in this way. The thread was closed shortly after, at my request. What 4 years costs? Let me give you some numbers. 4 years of rent paid, every month, for a 2-bedroom apartment in Cali. 4 round-trip flights to Colombia, economy class, with a connection in Bogotá. 2 complete visa applications, each with associated legal and government fees. Monthly money transfers for groceries, the boys' school, her mother's medication, and things she described as emergencies that I stopped questioning because the questioning never changed the outcome. Gifts. Jewelry. A phone when her old one broke. Another phone when the second one broke. I have not added it all up precisely. I have tried to. I stop before the end every time. What I can tell you is that it is significantly more than I plan to spend on the rest of my life. And that is only the money. The rest of it does not have a unit of measurement. The nights. The hope. The feeling I had on that bench in the park with her son asleep across my lap, looking at the mountains, thinking that something good was finally going to happen. That was real. Or it felt real. And maybe for the purposes of how it cost me, the distinction does not matter. The question I keep not answering. People sometimes ask me whether I think she ever cared about me at all. I have spent 4 years with this question and I still do not have a clean answer. I think it is possible to use someone and not hate them. I think it is possible to be warm to a person you are exploiting, not because the warmth is entirely performed but because human beings are complicated and the categories of genuine and fake do not always sit in separate boxes the way we would like them to. I think she liked me, in the way that you can like someone who is kind to you and causes you no direct harm, while also understanding that his money is the actual point of the arrangement. I think she understood, from the beginning, what the arrangement was. And I think she gave me just enough of what I needed to keep it going for as long as it could go. I think I knew. And I let it go on because the alternative was going back to the house and the silence and the bed that is too big for one person, and I was not ready for that. I am still not entirely ready for that. But I am closer to it than I was. The end of the story, which is not really an ending. Her number is still in my phone. Her visa is expired again. I have not filed a new application. I have told her I will not file a new application until she agrees to certain things that she has shown no interest in agreeing to. She still calls some evenings. Not all of them. The calls have gotten shorter. The last time we spoke, she asked me how I was doing. I said fine. She said she had been thinking about me. I said okay. She said she thought maybe the timing had never been right and that things might be different in the future. I did not say anything for a moment. Then I said I had to go. And I hung up before she did, which was the first time I had done that in 4 years and which felt, in a small and insufficient way, like something. I do not know what comes next for me. I am 53 years old and I am starting over in ways I had not planned to be starting over at 53. What I know is this. The loneliness that made me vulnerable in 2019 is still there. It did not go away just because I learned an expensive lesson about it. Loneliness does not cure itself through pain. It just waits. But I know something now that I did not know then. The loneliness was the first thing she saw when she looked at me. Before the money, before the passport, before anything else. She saw a man who had been invisible for too long and she offered him the exact thing he needed most. And I took it. Because even a man who knows better, when he has been cold long enough, will walk toward anything that offers warmth. Even if some part of him can see, right from the beginning, that the warmth is borrowed. If this story sounds familiar, if you see yourself somewhere in it, you are not alone and you are not stupid. You are human. And these are very old patterns being run on new technology. The only way to protect yourself is to know they exist. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want to keep hearing the stories they never put in the travel brochures, the real ones, the ones that cost men everything, subscribe to The Broken Nomad. New story every week. Real people, real consequences, no filter. Because the truth is the only thing that actually protects you.